Hello geometry students. I am sending you this video instead of being in class today. I hope you are enjoying your day at home, but I did want to cover the lesson 8.7 on page 452 of your book before we get too far into review. So if you will turn there are a couple of pieces of information that you should include in your index card. The first is the radius. The second definition would be the diameter, and the third definition would be the circumference. If you look on your book, and I will pull it up here on mine, you see that nice little circle there. So we want to clarify what is what on that circle. If you look at it, the circumference is what goes around the circle. If you were going to measure your circumference, you would measure around your waist. That's probably as close as a good example as I can get. If you wanted to find out how far around a globe is or a balloon is, you would measure around with a tape measure. That is the circumference. The diameter reaches all the way across in a circle. And again, if we go over here to one of our, I just have to find the circle that I want right there. If you see that circle, it indicates the blue line is the diameter all the way across. And then you'll see that the red line is the radius. That's just halfway. And so we are going to build some formulas around those three pieces of information, and you need to know that really well for a lot of the stuff that we'll be doing in the future. So there's another concept that we are starting to learn, and that is, or starting to work with. You should already be familiar with this. Sorry for the shaky video. I only have two hands and I'm not very coordinated. But we mentioned this the other day, and that is the symbol for pi. And pi equals 3.14. And if you remember, we will celebrate Pi Day on March the 3rd month on the 14th day, or as close as we can with school. And if you look at your formulas, if you look in the blue box on page 452, it gives us the circumference formula, and or it gives us some words that we're going to use actually, and then it gives symbols that we're going to use, and this is one of them that we are going to use. And so if we want to find the circumference of a circle, and what we have to remember, I probably gave you a bad example by saying to measure around yourself to find your circumference, because it covers the whole surface area. So that's not a great example. But to find the circumference or the whole surface area of a circle, the formula is circumference. C equals 2 times pi times r. So C equals 2 times pi times r. And we know that pi is 3.14. So it would be 2 times 3.14, and then whatever our radius happens to be. In this case, in the example, it's 4. So it would be 2 times 3.14 times 4. And you see they map all of that out for you. And the answer ends up being 25.12. So that's how you find the circumference. You should put an index card with the circumference formula. You can write down what pi is in case you need to remember that. So what I want you to try to do is I want you to find, I'm just going to keep the circumference formula right up there on the video, and I want you to look at checkpoints 1 and 2, and I want you to use this formula to determine the circumference of those problems. I'll give you a couple of minutes if you want to pause the video, and then I'll give you the answers. So the answer to number 1 is 38 centimeters. And remember, you always need to be putting the correct, I call it address, or the correct unit measurement. So make sure that you had 38 centimeters. I think I said that right. Number 2 is 57 feet. And if you wanted to try number 3, it is 50 inches. But watch number 3, because if you notice, it says 16 inches is what the diameter is. So you would need to take half of that, which is 8, to determine your circumference. So this is the circumference. That is the surface piece around the circle. The area of the circle, that's what's inside. Remember, if you're gonna buy a new carpet for a room, you need to determine the area. You've got to cover the whole surface. But if you're just buying trim to go around the wall after you've painted, then you just need to measure the actual wall lengths. To find area in a circle, area equals pi again, which is 3.14, but r squared. So we are going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to square the radius. So our area is pi, which is 3.14, times r, but squared this time. And so that is our area formula. Let me pull that back so you can see it. I wrote too big. So if you look at example number 2, it says find the area of a circle. So they give us 7 centimeters, and 7 centimeters squared is going to be 49, then times pi, and that answer comes up to 153.94. So it's just a little different. You're squaring the radius in the area, but you are not squaring it in the circumference. Then they work backwards in this next example. It says it wants us to find the radius, and we know the area. So they begin with, if you look at example number 3, the radius is, the area is 380 feet squared. So we're going to plug that in for A. And then we just go to our formula, pi r squared. And we can put 3.14 in there, and then what we would do, and they're not showing that here, so let me show that for you. Here we have 380 equals pi r squared. We know that pi is 3.14 times r squared. I'm just going to separate that out. What we're going to do is we're going to divide by 3.14 to get rid of it on both sides. And when we divide by 3.14, we end up with the 120.96 equals r squared. Now, we have to remember how to do that. Remember, to do the r squared, you do the radical sign. That way you drop the squared over there, and then you just have to determine what is closest to the perfect square for 120.96. And you can do that on your calculator. You can probably also pull up square roots online and find out. 10 times 10 is 100, 11 times 11 is 121, and so that's going to be the closest. You're gonna estimate there. So the radius is about 11 feet. There's a couple of checkpoints, so I want you to try those. Checkpoint 4, 5, and 6, and in 6 they do the same thing as they did before, where they show the diameter. So take a couple of minutes, pause the video, and then come back. The answers to number 4 is 201 inches squared. Number 5 is 28 centimeters squared. And number 6 is 113 feet squared. Now, if you've gotten those wrong, I'd like for you to email me, let me know, so that I can maybe send you some additional practice problems. The final piece that we need to look at is example number 4, and this is how to find the area of a partial piece of the circle. So if you will take a look at, let me get over here, this is on page 454. It shows an angle measurement of 120 degrees, a radius of 9 centimeters, and we need to take that and find some information in the circle. So what you do here is you have to set up a proportion. So if you remember, we have been working with proportions not that long ago, and you are going to set one up with the information that you know. So if you take a look, we know that we have to pull out all of the tools in our toolbox, so to speak. A equals pi r squared is a formula that we are probably going to need. But one of the things that we have to do first is it says find the area of the circle. We can find the area of the circle because we know pi, we know the radius, and that all comes up to 254.47. And so then what we need to do is begin to use a proportion. So hop down to the second part and take a look at the little formula that they give us here. Area of sector over area of entire circle, measure of central angle, which is the angle measurement up there, over the measure of the entire circle. So let's translate that onto the whiteboard. Area of the sector, we don't know. That's what the X is going to be. Area of the entire circle, we did step 1 and we came up with 254. So that was step 1 of that solution. Then our proportion, the measure of the central angle they've told us is 120 degrees. And the measure of a whole circle, we should know, is 360 degrees. Then what they're going to do is work out the algebra for it. Cross multiply, 360 times x comes out to be 360x. 254 times 120 comes out to be 30,480. So just cross multiplication. And then you have 360x. Let me zoom in here to the portion of the book that I want to get to. Sorry, not doing a very good job here. Here we go. 360x over, and then you divide by 360 on both sides, and you come out to 84.67. And so when we ask the question, what is the area of the little blue section, it comes out to be 84.67. This is one of those, if you follow step by step, you will be able to come up with the area of just that sector. Now, let's have you practice the checkpoints 9 and 10. I'm going to have you do those, and then I will give you the answers for those. So for number 9, the answer is 2 feet squared. And for number 10, it is 20 centimeters squared. If you are having trouble with these, we will review them on Wednesday, but I want you to go step by step through the process. And then if you are confused about what the review packet was, I apologize. That was, I can't find it on my computer. So I'm just going to have you do the summary and review on pages 460 to 463. And you will go through that and review some of the concepts that we've been working on. And we will review all of this on Wednesday. Please email me if you have any questions. Thank you.